Hey Pat,
What's up, stuff?
what would you say is the best build for Elden Ring?
Probably strength builds. A good strength faith build goes a long way.
Yeah, but you know what take you longer though? A nice bleed build.
Sure, bleed's really strong. Proccing bleed does percentage damage, and that is a huge boon against bosses like Melania and stuff. But um, every enemy in the game is weak to big number. There's enemies that resist bleed. Bleed procs become more resistant in those boss fights that are affected by it. The more times you proc it, but every enemy just dies to getting hit by a weapon. Big Ooga Boonga goes farther, I think.
Fair. Um, but going back to the whole big number thing, I think it's just better to deal a percentage damage than just a regular standard if you start hitting, let's say, 200 per hit damage. Mainly because, and I know you mentioned that some enemies aren't really like super affected by bleed, but like nobody's gonna go after the Crystal Guardians. If we're talking mainline bosses, if you want to try to go do Elden Ring the first time by yourself, I personally, I would just tell them go bleed build. It'll give you an easier time. You'll do a lot more damage, a lot more number. Kind of outranks the whole Unga Boonga ideology. Just better.
I don't know. I don't know. Bleed's strong. Bleed's really strong. There's a reason Samurai is used for the speedrun, so I do admit that. But I just think that hitting things really hard is more satisfying and is generally more effective against bosses. A lot of strength builds have a lot of iframes in their attacks. Lion's Claw is really strong for a reason. The colossal weapons are all pretty good, at least generally. The Blasphemous Blade, one of the best weapons in the game. That's a strength weapon, strength and faith, but it's primarily a strength weapon.
I think it's more faith, don't you think?
Uh,
And if you want to talk iframes, yes, you have a lot of people that have iframes, but you know who else have iframes? The enemy, and you know what can interrupt those iframes? Blood build. Do
or I
one
can,
nice cool Rivers of Blood action, and their percentage gets hit, and they get staggered.
or I could hit them with my big hammer and just do 2,000 damage.
Yeah, but if you're facing something like Melania, I don't think that big hammer is gonna do much for you. Kind of slow, kind of sluggish. You want something fast. You want something quick. You want
I
the
disagree.
Uchi Katana, the Rivers of Blood. I got a pretty good arsenal when it comes to blood stuff. I don't know about strength. You have your colossal weapons, but I don't know. Anybody with a blood pill can destroy you. To be honest.
Maybe someone good at the game could. But you know what, Steph? Put your money where your mouth is, because I think I could beat the game faster than you can.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay, high
May,
ass. All right,
you know,
I'll raise you those stakes.
I'm sure a competent player at the game with a blood build can beat it faster than I can. But I think I could beat it faster.
Okay, asswipe. Um, we'll do this. And you know what? It's perfect timing too. The DLC is coming out soon.
Ooh, it
So
comes out in
let's finally put
month.
this to rest once and for all. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, you've heard correctly. Like our Pokemon runs, as Pat has so very humbly and graciously rubbed in my face before, we are doing an Elden Ring race. And we call it the...
Race to the DLC. It's a very original name.
Yep. we sat here and we
Shadows
thought
of
about it
the-
for a very long time. And
Shadows
we're...
of the Earth Tree is around the corner, so why not?
And we are super excited to finally have this event start again. We're getting the races back, and why not start with the game of the year of 2023?
21?
21?
22? It won a game.
It won
Put the
a Game
correct
Award.
date. Put the date here.
It
Let's
won a
edit it.
Game
Put it
Award.
right here.
Why not start with Elden Ring? Why not start with Elden Ring? And we're just gonna go through some of the basics. Now, hold on. It's not just free range. It's not like we're allowed to do whatever we want. So, if Pat, feel free to run down the rules with the audience.
Yeah, there's some rules where we both discussed this in private. We both agreed on everything here. We're all going to be starting on the same playing field. Nothing to worry about. So obviously, as a surprise to no one, our run has to start on a brand new character. No new game pluses. No existing characters. Let's start from scratch, like we just bought the game. Because obviously, both Steph and myself have had plenty of time with this game. We don't want any unfair advantages. And on the heels of that rule, we both need to start as a wretch. The wretch is the bare bones, starts
Middle
with
ground.
nothing plus. Yeah, obviously, if he started with the samurai, I started with vagabond, we have certain advantages that the other player doesn't have. We've got to make it fair. You have to play as a wretch.
We are starting from complete scratch.
Second rule, run ends when all remembrance bosses are cleared. So you don't have to just hit the credits, you got to go fight all the remembrances as well. This includes, Placidus Axe, Fortis Axe, Melania. Every remembrance boss needs to be defeated. There are some minor exceptions that we'll go over it later in the rules, or I should say more like punishments if we don't complete them. But we'll get there when we get there.
So we have to. So myself and Pat, in order to reach Fortis Axe and Estelle, we have to start going through Fia and Ronnie's quest line. So we're doing 2 quest lines at the same time.
Yeah, and now obviously if a player gets locked out of the quest line for whatever reason, they can't fight those bosses. So we're gonna have to have some kind of point deduction or whatever. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But ideally, we both go through both quests and the main game with no hiccups. I think we're both pretty good at the game at this point to be able to do that with no issue. But we're doing things live. Things can happen. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But ideally, it's all remembrances. Little asterisk though, because we might miss out on Fortis Axe or Estelle. Now, third rule. This is self-explanatory. Elden Ring is an open-world game. Therefore, you can do literally anything in any order you want. That's going to be true for both of us, too. If he wants to start with Margit, then I want to start with Radon, which is impossible. But just as an example, we could do any boss in any order we want. Self-explanatory. And another easy one, no glitches or exploits. I'm not good at really any of the big ones except for like some skips, but I'm not going to use them.
Yeah, I
can't use them either.
I myself I've never seen, or at least I personally have never seen speedruns of this game. I've only seen people just kind of walk through it and just do it naturally and just build up their character as much as they can. So I have no knowledge of glitches or exploits.
Yeah, and they're not fair. They're not how the game was intended to be played. We're trying to play this game as if we're just playing the game with no extra help, at least as much as possible. No. Next rule, this is more to test both Steph and I's memory. We're not allowed to look anything up. We need to go into this race and go through it just off our memory of our playthroughs, right? We can't look up where any weapons are, any locations for quests. We just need to do it to the best of our knowledge. This might cause an issue with the remembrance bosses thing. If we don't remember when Fia's quest gets locked out or Ronnie's blah blah blah, we will address those issues accordingly when they come up. But just to avoid any unfair advantage, we can't look anything up except weapon stat requirements. This was something we kind of had a conversation about, and ultimately we just decided that if you want to look up the requirements for the Claymore or the Greatsword, for example, so we could commit to a build, that's fine, but we're going to try to avoid that as much as possible, just so we don't lock ourselves out of a weapon. Obviously, after you beat Renala, you could respec, so it doesn't really matter, but it's just something we both agreed on. That's that, right? Next, I have rule 6. We can only use weapons that fit our theme. We both picked a quote-unquote class, bleed versus strength, so Steph can't use a staff. I can't use magic, or I can't use like the Dark Moon Greatsword, for example.
We are only allowed to stick to our chosen builds and anything that's related to our chosen builds.
Yeah, so I can't use like a quality dexterity weapon and build into dex. You know, I have to build into strength. Step has to bleed into arcane. Now, obviously, he's using bleed weapons, so he will dabble in strength and dex naturally because weapons have requirements. And arcane isn't the only stat in the game, but it's just kind of to keep everything simple on a path. You can't just become a mage halfway through the game and start spamming, you know, night sorceries or whatever. Right? You have to stay within our classes. Next rule, can't use infusions that don't fit the theme either. So for example, I'm playing a strength character, I can't use a quality or a keen or a blood weapon, with one exception that we'll get into later. But this rule only applies to boss fights. So I can't use a blood claymore against Margit, but I can use a blood claymore against the soldiers of Godric in the open world, right? Just as an example. Okay. Damage dealing sorceries and incantations are banned. So buffs like Golden Bow are fine, but no Night Comet, no Fireball, no damage dealing spells, just buffs.
Just buffs.
Yeah. Any Ash of War in the game is fine, as long as it doesn't conflict with any of the previous rules.
Rule 3.
No NPC summons. Spirit Ashes are fine. I'm sure Mimic will come up in both our playthroughs. But no summoning other human characters in the game, like Roderick or Rogier, sorry. And obviously no summoning other real players. Like I can't summon Steph or my friends to help me with a boss fight. You have to do it just ourselves, and Spirit Ashes are a thing we use, right? They're not another.
For those
player.
of you who are joining in or are coming from another person's stream, what Pat is talking about is that he has helped Kiki OK, our very own Kiki OK, with her playthrough of Elden Ring. So if you want to go check that out, go ahead to get yourself familiar with the game before the race.
Oh, it's Kiki OK anymore.
Oh.
It's Kiki VT.
Kiki VT at Twitch.com. I'm sure she'll yell at me later. Sorry, Nat.
Yeah, and the last rule, this is more of a shitpost, but Alexander's quest is mandatory. It's not tied to any remembrance boss.
You must be protected at all costs.
Yeah, so you gotta finish Alexander's quest line as part of this.
So a few
That's
notes
all
here.
the main rules.
Oh, of course. And a few notes here. Banned weapons, Blasphemous Blade, Malekith's Blade. Road to Blade.
Oh, I wrote Blade. Oops. It's Black Blade.
We're looking at a rule sheet. You're not allowed to use the Blasphemous Blade because obvious reasons. You can't use Malekith's Black Blade because that's also a very OP blade as well. Or any kind. Well, either of us because it doesn't fit within our procs. East Strength, I'm Blood, the Destined Death proc. It doesn't fit within either of us. Then we are allowed for this one boss, the Serpent Hunter against Rykard, because we were talking about it a lot, we were trying to go back and forth with it, and we finally just settled on the fact that Rykard is a gimmick boss. It's kind of hard for someone like me because the Serpent Hunter is a strength weapon. It's kind of hard for somebody like me who's just using bleed to damage Rykard.
Like, is Rykard beatable without the Serpent Hunter? Yes. Is Rykard fun to fight without the Serpent Hunter?
No.
No, absolutely not.
Kind of has a pool of lava that I can't necessarily step on.
Yeah, neither of us can really. So just to keep the game still enjoyable without hampering our enjoyment, you can use the Serpent Hunter. I can also use the Serpent Hunter. That's fair game, but obviously it's just for Rykard. It doesn't really do anything outside of the Rykard fight. It is a strength weapon. Maybe I'll use it, but it doesn't do the same things outside of the Rykard fight that it would do otherwise. So this fight we're allowed to use it.
Sorry about that. And speaking of gimmick battles, that leads into our Radahn fight. Now Radahn, as some of you may know, some of you don't know, Radahn is also a gimmick fight technically. Same thing with Rykard, how you can still fight Rykard without the Serpent Hunter. You can still fight Radahn without summoning everybody else that's in the festival. Because Radahn takes place within a festival, this fighting festival, where a bunch of warriors try to go at him. We are allowing you to summon the soldiers to fight Radahn. Not only will this further Alexander's quest, but it's also a gimmick fight. It's kind of hard for a level 1, level 0 person to fight Radahn by himself.
Yeah, the whole point of the game is that's the Radahn festival. It's just exciting, it adds to the thrill of the fight. This fight is a lot easier to do solo than a fight like Rykard.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll decide to do it solo in the moment. But we're allowing summoning the other characters in the story just because it fits the theme. It's that part of it.
And finally, because I was speaking before about pursuing Alexander's quest, we are absolutely allowed to summon Alexander for the Fire Giant fight. Fire Giant is not a gimmick fight, but pursuing Alexander's quest, you have to summon him to do the Fire Giant fight. And the Fire Giant fight is not going to make... Summoning Alexander is not going to make it easier. Fire Giant is kind of hard on its own.
You don't even need Alexander to beat it, but it's just... He's there. We're helping Alexander this run, so we're allowing to summon Alexander.
Now, what do we need to win? Pat, what the hell do we need to do to win?
Yeah, so we have some rules, right? We mentioned getting all remembrances, right? But our first rule, this is kind of a meme. You have to talk to Vare at the start of the game. You have to be called Maidenless. It's funny. It happens to everybody on their first playthrough. We gotta do it. If you don't talk to Vare, or you forget to talk to Vare, we're not gonna remind each other. So if we just forget, you lose.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. We have allocated points. We're not gonna share all the points because that's gonna make this video way too long. But we allocated points to the requirements for us to win, and in anything that we don't do, we tally up the points again. Whatever we don't do, we deduct them.
Yeah. And second to win requirement is to beat the game. Right? Obviously, you need to complete the game with your assigned class. That's a given, right? Then acquire all 15 remembrances. Again, that's a given. And you need to acquire the Shard of Alexander. If you don't know Alexander's questline, I'm not going to spoil it here. That is an item you get for completing the questline. That is a requirement for winning this race. You will have points deducted, I believe, if you don't get it. So.
And finally, where the hell can you find this? Yes, on the JW channel there will be edited videos of it, but where you will see our entire playthrough from start to finish will be on our respected channels. I'm going to be streaming on YouTube as Toonmanlive. YouTube.com/Toonmanlive, and I'm sure there's numbers in front of it because I didn't get the I didn't get the @ yet. And Pat is also going to be streaming on his Twitch channel. That's right, he has a Twitch channel.
I have a Twitch. I don't advertise it ever. I don't really stream.
Yeah.
But I'll be doing this live, and like Steph said, the recorded versions will be edited down and posted on YouTube for a funny highlight reel. Maybe the stream archives will also go up if anyone's interested. We'll see.
Now, of course, both of our links for our channels will be in the description below, so you could either tune in, subscribe. Why not subscribe? Or in Pat's case, follow. Because subscribe means something different in Twitch.
Yeah, and I'm not an affiliate.
And he's not affiliate yet. He's close. Yeah. But yes, subscribe/follow to our respective channels to get updates, and as well as we are going to begin this little race of ours, and we hope to finish before the DLC came out, because I'm very certain in myself I am also going to be streaming the DLC completely blind, because I'm not gonna know what the hell happens. I don't know what the bosses are. I want to be fully fresh into playing the DLC of Elden Ring. I failed the first time. I'm not going to fail the second time. Now, how long these streams are going to be, we decided to give ourselves a cap of 2 to 3 hours. We are probably going to give ourselves like 2 hours to record, because then that's a lot of footage for me to break down and then post on the JW channel. But alongside of that is, it depends on like what we're doing. If let's say Pat's fighting a boss and I'm kind of just gallivanting around the lands between, and we hit the 2-hour mark. It's controllers down. Usually it's supposed to be controllers down, but because Pat is in the midst of fighting a boss, he can't necessarily put controller down and let himself die. He finishes what he is doing, and then we put our controllers down.
Yeah, that's the case for anything. If either of us are in the middle of something, when the timer runs out, finish what you're doing and then put controller down.
Yeah, save, controller down, we go into the next one. We're gonna try our best, because myself and Pat's schedule is kind of tight at the moment, because of, you know, work and outside stuff. We're gonna try to do this as frequently as we can. There is no set days for us, because right now we have Friday. Like Friday we're gonna start streaming it. But like I don't know if Friday is always gonna be the case, because either something may change for him, something may change for me. Obviously, if you want to get notified, you could follow either one of our Twitters. We'll probably post updates from there. We'll say like, oh, I can't do it Friday, it's either being rescheduled, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so we're gonna try to finish the game or finish the race before the DLC comes out. At the time of recording, the DLC comes out in exactly 1 month, so we will see. Obviously, scheduling conflicts may cause problems. This may go past the DLC.
And for the
I don't know what Steph plans to do in the case of this race going past the DLC. If he wants to wait for the DLC to wait for the race to finish before playing the DLC, I should say.
I would personally.
That's something we'll talk about privately, but just know that we're gonna try to finish the race.
I thought I just gave you an answer to your question. Like I don't know if we want to discuss it privately. Yeah, I kind of want to finish the race before the DLC.
Well, I don't.
No, like, because you're not using it for content. You could fucking play the DLC all you want.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but we are going to try our best to finish this race before the DLC. I'm fairly confident in both of our abilities. We've been playing this game for like many hours. I feel confident in saying that like we'll finish this game before the DLC comes out.
Yeah, but with that said, we did say 2-hour streams. They might be longer, they might be shorter.
Might be longer and shorter depending what we're doing. And
yeah, you know, you might get a 4-hour stream, might get a 2-hour stream, might get a 3. You never know. So
yeah. So we hope all of you would be there. And little something, I completely forgot about this. For those of you on the JW channel, uploads aren't going to be as frequent as the streams. We'll probably be like 3 streams ahead before the first episode comes out, right? Because I am just one person. I'm the sole person who is editing these and making the thumbnails, and I can only do so much. So unfortunately, the episodes of this run on the JW channel is going to probably come out much later and will probably surpass when the DLC comes out. But aside from that, have we covered everything? I'm sure we have.
I think so. I guess that's more or less everything.
Well, we hope to see you guys there. Again, all of our links to where you will be watching this and where you can keep up with updates will all be in the description below, as well as all of the members of the JW as well. So stay tuned. We hope to see you there, and I can't wait to kick his ass in this one.
No.
Your trash talk is the epitome of trash talk.
I aim to please.
Alright. We'll see you guys later. Hey, Pat.
Well, what's up?
What's the best build in Elden Ring?
Intelligence.
I agree.
Yeah.
The good ending.